Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's it go? We are at 1984 levels. I saw a video yesterday from Colorado that, whatever. Now the truth is out there, not even lying about it. We're going to talk about the surveillance state. And maybe we'll talk about how we can sit there and dismantle it. Anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, anyway, but I hope everybody's having a great day today. I tell you what, I finally made a milestone on YouTube. I finally made it to monetization, which I thank you all for helping me get there. It's been a hard struggle over the last couple of years, but especially when you say controversial stuff these days when you don't follow the narrative. Oh well, but I appreciate all the support I've got to get here. So one little note from the channel. And one thing I need to do, I'm just buying some time for people to show up, send out notifications. But this Christmas, okay, what I have been seeing about these AI toys, holy cow. I mean, your toy is going to be talking to your children when you're not around, okay? And remember the programming, it's just, toys that are worse than Chucky. That's what it is. These toys are actually worse than Chucky. More nightmarish. They're going to turn your kid into, I don't want to say it, but, this stuff has got to stop, okay? Toys are meant to be played with, not to what they want to use them for. And kids are so attracted to them that, and then, oh, good, my AI puppy or my AI pet, whatever, talks to me. And, it's just like a regular friend to me and stuff. Can anybody see the social implications of that from kids not developing socially because of that? I mean, kids are really going to start thinking they're furries, but that's beyond the point. These things are spying on families, kids, getting information. Tell me what your daddy did today, that type of stuff. Anyway, anybody buying toys for their kids this from now on? Be careful. Look the toy up and stuff. I hear the new AI Barbie doll, they got to sit there wait on bringing that back out because it's some bugs in it, whatever. Anyway, I don't need, smart toys. That's just a bad thing. Anyway, let's get on going on the surveillance state. I saw a video from Colorado yesterday that just verifies everything that I've been saying about the surveillance state. We are 1984, people. 1984. Okay, but anyway, this cop comes up to this lady's house. Some lady got her packages stole from her porch, and she had a the doorbell cam, and all I could tell was a blonde woman. And they sat there. The cops went and I don't know how they sit there and found this lady, but they said she had entered. It was like a suburb of Colorado Springs. How she had entered that town 20 times in a month. Okay, whatever. They knew all this stuff about her. And the thing is, the cop went there to, I don't know, not arrest her, but talk to her about it. And she's like, hey, why don't we just go to my vehicle right now? Because he had pictures and everything. He said, this is what part of it he said, you can't breathe in this town without us knowing about it. That's what that cop said. With all the cameras they got around and stuff. That's 1984, people. But anyway, this lady, I guess they got cameras on the cars now. They drive and everything now anyway. And she goes, hey, let me show you where I was at in my car at that time. You're saying, oh, no. If you're not going to admit to this, then I'll just write you a summons to come to court. Didn't even want to see your evidence. Anyway, but the survey, that's beside the point. That's a tyrannical cop who, I'm not for defund the police. I'm for to sit there and get the police to a different mission statement, like protect and serve the people again, instead of protect and serve your mayor or your masters. But anyway, this surveillance state, they know everything that happens in that town. Okay, he sat there and showed her evidence how she had driven around that town for a month. And she was some financial person or something like that. Your glasses sit high on your face. It needs adjustment. Sorry, sir. Anyway, but why don't you shut up for a second and read the comments? No one wants to hear the bloody keep speaking. Are you a boxer? I was a Marine, and I got, you know, many self-defense techniques. I've been trained in quite a few. Boxing just happens to be one. Judo, forms of martial arts. The thing is, I was going to make sure I never came home in a little metal coffin. That type of stuff will wake you up real quick. Anyway, back to the surveillance state, okay? One thing about my chat, it's for you guys, but, when I'm busy talking and stuff and I got a subject, I'm not on my computer. I'm on my phone. I need to start doing these live streams on my computer. But, I just don't pay attention that much. I guess I probably should a little bit more. But I appreciate everybody being here. If you like the content, hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Help this channel grow so I can irritate more trolls, if anything else. All right. And the thing about this surveillance state is it affects everybody. I made a video about how our politicians just hate us. It don't matter what your political affiliation is or who the politician is. They hate you equally. And, it's going to affect all of us. It affects all of us. You're in the big city now. You are being spied on. Let's go back a few years before the Patriot Act and stuff. Let's go back to those days where, back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was a big thing if the government put a bug in your house, an electronic device to listen to you. And let's say at a warrant, it was illegal. Okay? But that, oh my God, you don't want anybody listening. And now we live in a time where the appliances you buy have microphones hooked up to Wi-Fi, listen to your lamps, your everything. And now your kids' is toys. This is so 1984, it's ridiculous. Yeah, we may not be sitting in a corner in our house. Well, maybe it is that way. Let's say these lamps have cameras on them, like your TV does. And the picture of that guy in the beginning of the movie where he's sitting in a corner of his house, just one place where the cameras can't see him. This is beyond real, people. Why do they need to know so much about us? Intelligence gathering in the military, we gathered intelligence on the enemy, okay? The enemy, okay? Why do they need all this information about us? We all know it's about control. It's absolutely about control and nothing else. And for some reason, people are falling for it. See, I'm going to get out and living like I am behind me before this all goes crazy. Because out here, I live in, flyover country now anyway. And it's not like they can put cameras all over. They're not going to have trail cameras all over the place. But they'll have drones flying over. Autonomous drones probably that are armed. Ooh, that guy's looked at the drone wrong. Oh, autonomous, Judge Dredd. Let's take him out. I mean, that's the stuff that's coming, people. And you can sit there and say, I don't do nothing illegal. Why should I have to be worried about surveillance? Yeah, you do. Anybody who says they don't do anything illegal, I bet you any money you speed when you drive. I don't. But I bet you do. All you people, I don't ever break a law. Yeah, then what happens when speeding becomes a capital offense? Well, Judge Dredd showed up. Bam, 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 bam. I guess they're not going to speed no more. I mean, that's science fiction. But it sure does seem to be going that way, doesn't it? I just don't understand the surveillance state. And people just wanting it and wanting it. Maybe not wanting it, but not willing to fight it. I mean, when you get upset and you need to be by yourself, Whatever happens, you just need to be by yourself and take a drive and get in your car and take a drive and go walk a forest path because you just need some time to yourself. But guess what? You're never going to be by yourself anymore. Calm down. Don't get all worked up now. I try not to, but it's stressful. The thing is, I'm on the outside of the cage. Okay, like I say, I live in a small area, and I'm looking at what you guys all got to deal with. And I don't know how you deal with it because it doesn't. It just seems like they have an easier time finding the law-abiding criminal than they do the law-breaking criminal. You notice that? But this surveillance state, I mean, that's why I'm getting out. I can't be caged. All right, I can't be caged. I'm not a good communist. I don't follow a totalitarian. I don't follow them people. I don't follow any people. I follow God and try to do my purpose in God's work. But these politicians and people that actually think Trump is Christ, I heard something the other day too that they're trying to say that AI is the new coming of Jesus. Oh yeah, mankind created Jesus. Okay. But anyway, tell Trump that, and then he gets this in his mind. And they just want to know everything about it. We're just allowing them to do it. Like I say, we got our lamps and our refrigerators and our TVs. I mean, you got a new home, a smart home. You are watched everywhere around that home. Just like 1984. It may look nice, but you are watched everywhere you go through that home. Except maybe your bathroom and bedroom. I don't know how people can live with that and think it's okay. What's your point? What do you think the point is? It's time that we need to disassemble the surveillance system. I mean, how much more of this has to go? 3 more years under Trump. What do you think it's going to look like in 3 years? With digital ID, digital currency, and all this surveillance state. And since nobody's going to have a job, it's going to be universal basic income. Why do you think the government wants to know everything about you? What's the point? The point is we can't allow this to happen. The point is, I'm not going to become a slave to this shit. I'm on YouTube. I got a camera on me now. I choose when the camera's on me. As a law-abiding citizen, I'm not going to walk through a city and be traced just because somebody watching the camera and says, boy, we haven't seen him before. Facial recognition doesn't show up. We need to follow this guy a little bit and see what the hell's going on. That's totally against the Constitution. They have no probable cause. But then again, we don't go by the Constitution anymore. Okay? Cops create probable cause to search stuff. It's just a crock of shit. But this surveillance state, you guys living in the big cities, I mean, you realize, I heard London's absolutely the worst. But where you can track a person's movements completely through the city, and even though he's carrying a backpack and a gun and all this other stuff, we can track him, but we're not going to send no cops in to do anything about it. Yeah, whatever. Like I say, the surveillance state isn't for the criminals. It's for the law-abiding people, the sheep they want to create, the herd they want to create. That's who it's for. It's to keep us in line. They can sit there, we know this about you. And they're building all these data centers so they can collect all this information. Anybody understand what it's like to be free anymore? Does anybody understand what an intrusive government is anymore? Have they logged the American citizen down with so much entitlements? How much control will the government have over your life if you never got a paycheck from them? How much? You could sit there and not have to worry about the government threatening you with something because you could live your life and say, who cares? I'm on my own. In any government that threatens the American citizen, like Biden with nuclear missiles, Hellfire missiles, and F-15s, okay, there's something wrong with that guy anyway. That's our presidents these days. He's not the only one that talks stupid to the American people. Trump is famous for calling people names and trying to degrade them if they disagree with them and try to pop his ego a little bit. Trump gets very vicious and stuff as a president. Maybe you keep that shit in the Oval Office. Anyway, especially don't put it on your social media platform and stuff. Okay, so they're going to surveil the shit out of us. I always wonder why there's no billionaires in prison. Nowhere in the world is there a billionaire that's in prison. Anybody want to name one? So that means once you become a billionaire, you become this angel-like entity that never does nothing wrong, or are you just too big to fail and too big to jail? Okay? Is that what it is? But these people aren't going to be surveyed. The homeless aren't going to be surveyed. It's going to be the people that they wanted to take the vaccine. Those are the people that they're going to surveil. That part of the population. Not the homeless, not the big company CEOs and their families that weren't required to take the Simon Says vaccine, not government officials or their families. No, they ain't ever going to be surveilled. They're just going to get to see what you do. Like in this country, we got a few million people controlling the masses. And that's when the government knows it's doing good, when it can control the mob and still go about their business of screwing the mob over. Like I say, $38 trillion in debt, people. $38 trillion in debt our country put us. And nobody's risen up yet. Our founding fathers would be appalled. I mean, they went to war over taxes, right? The main thing, taxation, well, that was part of it, but there were a lot of other things. The British just weren't nice people to the colonists at that time. And, there were a lot of bad things their soldiers were doing. But there was a reason for it, okay? But what's going on in this country now, think back to when the Revolutionary War, okay? And this is the thing. Why did we have a Revolutionary War back then? It's not because the little guy was pissed off and wanted to start shooting their guns. It was because the rich guy, the powerful rich people, colonists, John Hancock, all the people, the richest man in North America at the time, they had it. Because they were the ones that were suffering the most under this taxation and stuff and not being able to, be free in their business like they were, because they were the ones with the money. They taxed you on what you spent, not on what you made. So you had all the rich guys, powerful guys get together and boom, boom, boom. The little guy had somebody to follow. That's why it went. Nowadays, you think the rich guy's going to support the mediocre guy? Hell no. I mean, you got a multi-billion-dollar business and you're going to go broke tomorrow. All you got to do is ask the government for money. And hey, you need a $10 billion welfare check. Here it is. Boy, I wish, what was it? Carter? During Chrysler and the Lee Iacocca thing, or was that early Reagan? Wish they would have never gave Chrysler that $1 billion to save that company, because that set a precedent that has just robbed a lot of money from the American people. Banks that built out on a regular, what is your point? Just a second, people. I got to do something here. But the thing is, you're trying to sit there. Hey, hang on. Get bailed out. Were you here in 2008, or were you just a child back then? I mean, were you here in 2008 when they had to have money right now, or they were gone? Okay, there would be pitchforks and torches in the street. Bailed out? The American taxpayer never gets bailed out. But I tell you what, these rich guys, too big to fail, too big to jail. So, but anyway, Handy Andy, see you later. I don't put up with that shit. I don't put up with adult children. I mean, these people are, I'm ignorant. What do you mean the sky's blue? Prove it to me. What do you mean the sky's blue? Oh, we never bailed out the banks. We never did. It was just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. The banks got $120 billion over a few days from the government so they could stay solvent. Because you know why? Because nobody has any money anymore to pay the bank back from the loans they took. Okay? But don't worry. Pretty soon, there'll be a bail-in. And if you got a lot of money in the bank, oh, well, you're just going to have to sit there and do your best. So anyway, but this surveillance state shit's got to stop. I mean, it's just beyond control. Where I ain't even going to be able to get out there in the mountains so far off the beaten path that I'm 100 miles away from anybody, and I'm still not going to have peace and privacy. You know, they don't look at our privacy as something that's important to them. You know, our politicians should talk about how our privacy is important to them, and they do whatever they can to keep it that way. I mean, Trump's talking about this new committee or whatever to make sure our rights aren't violated, right? Shit. Okay. Anyway, and they violate them. They all do is try to take them. I'm going to make sure your rights ain't violated. Hey, what's the newest gun control law coming down? They talk out of both sides of their mouths. Anyway, if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up, to subscribe, and the bell notification. Help this channel grow. You know, there's a lot of crap coming down. We're all in a shit creek, buddies, people. And, you know, we're headed for the falls. And it's going to be one hell of a mess when we hit the bottom without an oar. I just don't understand why people can't wake up. If you're in a big city, you got cameras everywhere. Tell you a story. Tell you a little story of mine about cameras. And this was back in 2004, it probably was. Anyway, I listened to the show, Coast to Coast AM. I worked at night. I delivered stuff and I'm listening to Coast to Coast AM, and he's talking, and this is back in 2004, and they have this guest on talking about the surveillance state that's already there back in 2004, right? And he's talking about where some of these cameras are at. And then he sits there and names the town, Sanborn, Minnesota. I'm like, what? Because I drove through that town every single night. That was one of my deliveries. And then I take the back way to Lamberton for delivery. Anyway, and he's talking about where the camera's at. And this is a town of about 400 people, okay? There's nothing there in the farmland of Minnesota, right? And then he's talking about where the camera's at. And then he's like, oh my God. It was going towards the golf course on the west side of town, the back road to Lamberton. And it was on the back road, not a gravel road. It was tar, but it was still not the main road. And the camera was posted in the spot. I used to stop at the bottom of this hill and take a piss every morning. And lo and behold, if that camera wasn't the next telephone pole down, right at me the whole time. Now, this is a guy on the radio telling me this, okay? And I think he's full of shit. And I go to that spot, and he was freaking right. Out in the middle of nowhere on this secondary road, there was a camera on a post. So every time I pissed in that spot, I made sure that they could see. This was 2004. Now, my question is, out there, there's no military, nothing. There's nothing. It's a small town in farmland, Minnesota, in southern Minnesota. Who's paying for that camera? That was my first thought. Who's paying for that camera? This is beyond stupid, people. That was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And look at where we're at now. You can't even breathe in this town without us knowing. Got to keep an eye on the rocks and cows. Like I say, out there where I'm at, they'll just have drones flying over with infrared and stuff. See, you guys can't hide from infrared. This isn't the Predator, okay? This isn't Hollywood where, you got full of mud and the guy can't see it. Bullshit. Okay? Infrared runs on frequencies of light. So, everything different gets off. Anyway, it's a bunch of crap, okay? You ain't going to be able to hide from this stuff. Well, I see I got a moderator in here hiding stuff, but I haven't seen the moderator yet. Trump 2028, yeah. If Trump runs, if he's able to run in 2028, he's going to be running against Barack Obama, okay? Because if we're going to break the Constitution, must just bring Barack in for a third term too, right? See, nobody wants to follow the Constitution anymore. I'm a constitutional conservative. I don't like either god darn party. I don't follow a party banner. As a United States Marine, I follow the American Constitution. And I know neither party does. And until Americans, and since they're shitting on the Constitution, and until Americans want to stand up for the Constitution, according to the government, it's just a piece of paper with words written on it. I know that's hard to hear. But if we're not willing to fight for the Constitution, our freedom, and our liberties in this country, well, then they're just eventually going to take them completely from us. And the surveillance state is just one of their steps of doing it. Hey, Mike, Trump 2020, hey, Semper Fi, welcome home. Hey, appreciate it. Always faithful to you too, Semper Fi. Semper Fi, do or die. Anyway, it was an interesting time for me in my life. There's a reason they get young folks to do that. But that was a dream I always wanted to do, be a Marine. And let's just say that taking a small town farm boy from Minnesota, and a year and a half later, my eyes were completely opened on how the world worked, completely. And that's why I'm on here. And that's why the average civilian doesn't understand. Because the average American, they've been, through the years, they have just fed us this stuff and people have given up their rights and they become desensitized. Gorbachev said that back in the 60s, we're not going to take America over with bombs. We're just going to feed America a little bit of communism and socialism, a little bit at a time, until they conquer themselves, basically. And boy, they're doing that. And they've become so desensitized now that people are walking around in cities that have military in them now, with cameras everywhere, where you can't breathe in them without somebody knowing, without a government official knowing. Let me tell you something about gathering intelligence, people. They eventually will use it, whether it be 10 years from now or whatever. When the totalitarian state starts, okay, the surveillance, digital ID, digital currency and stuff. I mean, digital currency, can you imagine having 1 million credits and all of a sudden you were considered an enemy of the state and they made you homeless because they cut off your funds? That's what digital currency is going to be, people. The government's going to be the primary signature on your bank account, and you'll be the secondary, and all your purchases are going to have to go through the primary. Just like basically Social Security is, right? You put money in, but are you in charge of the withdrawals? Not even close. Not even close. But anyway, yeah, the surveillance state, the infrastructure is set up. They're building more data centers. I mean, we have more data centers in this country than the rest of the world put together. And this is the thing, okay? How many people we got? 350 million people in here, and we need more data centers in this country than a country like China or India or that stuff that got, or combined, that got 3 billion people combined. We still need more data centers with, 10% of that population. They're going to control everybody eventually. You'll get a text on your phone. They're going to blackmail you right through your phone, send you a message in a picture, and say, guess what? This is a secured thing. This is where we got you. This is what we want you to do. That's why, you need to get to a point where you're as least dependent on anybody, especially the government, as possible. You want to get debt-free. Okay, when you retire at 65 or whatever, you shouldn't be debt-free. You shouldn't be making payments on a car or nothing like that. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be any sort of financial slave or credit cards. My God, pay cash. Yeah, I want to move out of here. Trump is a traitor. We will never forget what us did to Ukraine and Europe. We helped U.S. in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we have helped the U.S. in what was some help back from Norway. This is the thing, people. We're not the only from Norway. I apologize to any foreign person from another country that has to deal with the bullshit the United States government puts you guys through, because us civilians in this country, us vets and stuff, don't have the heart the Patriots had to stop this shit. And this is the thing. Why should a citizen in another country have to deal with what goes on in Washington, D.C.? We always say, yeah, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. 6 worst words in the language. What do you think it's like in another country? Oh, we got to deal with the United States now. But, and like I say, normal American citizens, not what you see on the news and stuff. But a lot of us American citizens have had enough, but we just don't have the leader we need. Like I say, in the 1760s and 1770s and stuff, it was affecting the rich people. The rich people were just as pissed off as the poor people. They're probably pissed off a little bit more. Like I say, John Hancock and all the people that signed the Declaration of Independence, George Washington, if they would have lost, they put their lives and fortunes on the line for independence. So you get these teachers, well, they did slave-owning bigots, racists that wanted to sit there and better themselves. Well, if that was the case, they sure did better a lot of poor people from all over the world because of their actions. And now we interfere with people's lives. I mean, Russians that are dying and Ukrainians that are still dying because we're supporting that war, and our armaments are being used to launch into Russia. Like you say, we live in a world where our long-range missiles are being used against Russia from Ukraine, and Russia still hasn't attacked us. 20 years ago, it had been nuclear war. But we've been so desensitized that, man, I don't know what it would take for the nukes to start flying. They threatened a lot more, but I was more scared. I'm not saying it can't happen, but these sons of bitches are living, these elites are living such cushy lives that they don't want to send the nukes off and ruin their life where they got to sit there and spend the rest of their life underground in a bunker and can't even come to the soil. I mean, eventually even a well-stocked, well-maintained, how big it is bunker is still going to feel like a jail cell eventually. And you're going to have psychological problems that come out of there and stuff. And the thing is, when money or status means nothing no more, what I mean by all these rich elites, right? They get people to stay loyal to them because they pay them all this money. When money becomes worthless, what kind of loyalty are these people going to have? These are going to be rich elites that can't even take care of themselves with no more servants. And you get them in a bunker situation like that, and your bunker surrounded by 100,000 people, say, send out the moron and you guys can all live. They'll kick him right the fuck out the door. Good morning, Pastor. Both parties are rotten. Yeah, George Washington didn't want political parties because they just a way to divide the people. And, you know, like I say, the contents of how the Constitution was thought of and the Bill of Rights was thought of and how this country was thought of, you got to take it from a mindset of not what we have now, but what these guys did. They fought a revolution against the most powerful country in the world, from a tyrannical king that was doing a lot of bad stuff to him with all his little judges and military and stuff. That contents, they had been messed with so bad that they went to war over it and won. And after these guys had sacrificed that, they want to ensure and do whatever the best they could to that future generations would be able to have the same thing. But, you know, Thomas Jefferson knew that, hey, the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots every 20 years. I think that's a little extreme. But we have got to the point where we're not willing to fight for our freedoms or liberties no more. And that's what's coming down to. Oh, I'll be shamed. Oh, you know, whatever. We can't bond together because we've been so divided. We don't have that leader. It's just a bad thing, people. We can't deal with the surveillance state. Like I say, we can still organize and try to put an end to this shit. But eventually it's going to come to the point where we can't even organize. You have more than 2 people, you have 3 people on a corner talking, boom, the cops are going to be there right away. What the hell are you talking about? I heard you say the president's name. What did you mean by that? Crazy time. Anyway, if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up, to subscribe, and the bell notification. I appreciate it. I guess I did get monetized, so I can't believe it. I can't believe, you know, it took me 2 years to get monetized. You know, that's a goal that every YouTuber wants to achieve. And especially, you know, it's hard to achieve it when YouTube's got both feet on the brakes. And because of the support of my people that watch me and my subscribers and stuff, it's just burning the tires, but we keep going forward. Anyway, appreciate all of it. So, because like I say, eventually I won't be on YouTube. You know, eventually the AI will shut me down, or the government will sit there and shut me down. It's coming. Because the thing is, why should they stop? Why should they stop? Because we're not doing nothing. Until they hit the point, the straw that breaks the camel's back, they're going to keep going until they put that straw on the camel's back. And then it's going to be all hell to pay. And like I say, wherever it starts, if it were to start here, it's just going to be a domino effect through countries in the West. You know, Britain would be, I'm sure if we went first, Britain would be the second one, France, Germany. But we need that leader. Boy, that would take one strong man. Hey, how do you keep them safe? That'd be a populist. Somebody who would sit there and take on the mantle of, let's get this shit fixed. And then after it got fixed, went back to his fields and did his work. Did his job, what he was supposed to do, served his purpose, and then went back to, what he wanted to do and live his life. This thing, people, even if that person does arise and we follow him, it can't be somebody that we immortalize for the rest of our life. They're just doing their job, their purpose. That was like George Washington. He was so concerned that people would not put him on a pedestal like they knew he would, but he didn't want to be on a pedestal 20 miles high. He wanted to sit there and kind of keep his being down to earth because they wanted to make him king. Just like France, after their revolution, they made Napoleon their emperor. Okay? It's just like, whatever. And Washington didn't even want to run for a second term because he's in ill health and he didn't want to die in office. He didn't want to become a saint in a way. He wanted to remain and be remembered as a humble man. And that's the man, we need a person of character who's going to step down after he serves his purpose. So the people can sit there and follow their dreams instead of following one other man's dreams or woman's dreams. I don't know. But with this surveillance state, oh, believe me, anybody that's going to be a John Connor, a George Washington, or anything like that, they're going to pick them out. And, they don't care about your life or my life. But like I say, the surveillance state is to keep us in check. Not the homeless, not the elites or the real rich or the business CEOs. It's our law-abiding citizens. That's who they want to keep in check. Okay? Anyway. Crazy times ahead, people. Protect yourself. And if you live in a big city, just walk around one day. Take a walk and see how many cameras you can find. Look up every once in a while. Like the Men in Black, we never look up anymore. Look up every once in a while and see how many cameras you can find in one day. Crazy time, people, crazy time. Like I said, when I listened to that radio show and they told me that camera was there, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, that's in the middle of nowhere. And lo and behold, there it was. So I made sure, you want to sit there and have a camera out here, and this is where I take my piss out in the country every morning. Guess what? You're going to get full shot. What a bunch of crap. What a bunch of crap. Thanks to that Patriot bill, right? And that was supposed to sunset, but they kept it going. I mean, the Patriot Act was only supposed to last for 6 years, 5 years, and it's been 24. It's like you say, once the government starts doing something, they get the foot in the door. Okay, let's take a chainsaw and cut that foot off. They're going to get the rest of their body. It's like Dracula. Letting the government in the house is like letting Dracula in your house. Now they have permission to come in whenever they want, and you can't stop them. And all they are going to do is suck you dry. Is that a good analogy? Boy, I just love... You've always been like a big brother for Norway. No, I don't know my brother anymore. But anyway, the world's on fire, people. And I really believe the rest of the world is looking at us American citizens and us vets and like, what in the hell is wrong with you people? How are you putting up with this shit? You got the Second Amendment, for crying out loud, and can escort these son of a bitches out of their office, and you won't do nothing. I don't understand it. Is it because of Walmart and cell phones? The littlest interruption in their life is just going to throw them into a tizzy. So we became too much of a dependent society instead of an independent society. And now we're going to be a surveilled dependent society. Anyway, can't wait till next year. Boy, I got to sit there and make up some predictions for next year, but it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, like I say, if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Anything to get the channel to grow, I appreciate it. And, there's always an interesting subject to talk about. The thing, are we going to be talking about war with Venezuela this weekend? And this is what I say about the war with Venezuela. As long as the American people do not get behind this crazy shit they're trying to sell us, as long as the American people are like, I don't think this is a good idea, they will not attack. If he gets the American public behind him, and that will be the straw that broke the camel's back that the government finally did to the country. Believe me. Okay? I mean, you're fighting a war with somebody that's got a landmass that's attached to the United States. And then, they all, Mexico and them, they can form allies too. Anyway, just that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. So that's one thing for everybody to remember is never sit there and support something the government's trying to sell you on. Especially when it's talking about, I guess we're killing Russians now, that's okay. Now we can kill Venezuelans because they're enemies, right? It's just fine. Well, there's going to be a lot of people in the world that are going to think the same about Americans. But anyway, war, surveillance state, whatever. Bad times coming down the road. But, I'm not going to be 1984 and sitting in my corner in my apartment, the only place where they can't see me. God, who'd ever thought? Who'd ever thought? Anyway, what does... Boy, I got the trolls in here today. Hey, you're welcome, trolls. You're welcome. You're welcome here. This is going to all affect you too. You're on your computer all the time. You got that camera staring at you 24/7. You're being surveilled. But you're okay with that. Anyway, I cherish my freedom, liberty, and privacy. Okay? And just because the government thinks it can do something, it don't have a right to sit there and surveil me. I grew up in a time where that was illegal. You need a probable cause, not just because, we haven't seen this guy walking down the street before. Let's follow him the rest of the way. People in the big city, like I say, just take a walk. Just take a walk one day. One sunny day, take a walk and start looking up. See how many cameras you see. Probably enough to, alter your thinking a little bit. Anyway, I know I'm never going to do it because I'm never going to go to a big city. Not ever in my life. That was something, too, as a young person I did, but not no more. I like my wide open spaces. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Appreciate everybody being here. Like I say, if you like the content, want to support the channel, hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. All of it's appreciated. All you guys have got this channel growing, and I appreciate it. Say there's goals that content creator achieves as he's building his channel, and I keep achieving all those goals. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here and supporting the channel, and watch my other content. You like my shorts and stuff, and share it out. Okay. Now, it's my opinions, too. Remember, you don't have to agree with me. But in the end, you didn't have to agree that the Titanic was sinking with somebody who said it was. But in the end, it sank. And they were all affected. So, anyway, some of us just see it before other people. Anyway, that's the way it is, I guess, right? That's the way it is. December 4th, 2025. Anyway. Everybody have a great day. This is Tom with Hidden Truths. I'm out of here.